Welcome in to the Radioactive Paper Cuts podcast. I'm your host, Josh Kennedy. Joining me today is the new, improved, high-definition, high-quality sound, Noah King Bates. How you doing, bud?
Oh, I can't complain. I feel all clear now. Ooh.
I know. Now I'm not the best looking guy on the podcast anymore, so that's kind of a bummer.
We'll tie for first. We'll tie for first.
All right. I accept that connection there. All right. So essentially today, as you guys know, we've been missing for a couple weeks. Noah got smashed with some stuff. I had a lot of baby stuff. But we've got the boys coming up. We're going to be covering that next week. The following week will be what we'll be covering it. But we'll be covering the boys over on this channel. Today's kind of just going to be a news and catch-up type of deal. So hope you're ready for that, Noah. First off, you got to go to Motor City Comic Con, and I'm incredibly jealous because I haven't been in like 5 years, 6 years, something like that. So tell me what I missed. How much fun did you have? All that good stuff.
Well, first of all, I doubt he's listening, but Matthew Lillard, you are a godsend, and everyone
got to meet Shaggy?
I got to meet Shaggy, and not only did I get to meet Shaggy, but I waited in line for 3 hours because me and my friend who she wanted to get all the Scream Boys, so we got in Skeet's line really quick, really fast, nice guy. Got in Jamie's line, really sweet, really nice, not too long of a wait. Shaggy, 3 hour wait. To the point where everything was closing down. He paid for the staff to stay extra out of pocket, changed his flight so he could thank the staff.
Oh, how is he such a nice guy? It's unreal how beautiful that man is. Him and Brendan Fraser are just the angels of Hollywood.
And even though I didn't sign up to sign anything, I was in line with my friend, signed something for me free of charge, gave me a hug. He did that to anyone who waited like in that line. You got something. It didn't matter. You got something from him.
All right, Noah. Well, you've convinced me. It's official. We're doing a Paper Cuts trip to Motor City Comic Con next year. You and I are going. I'm leaving my wife and baby at home.
I'll be leaving my son here, and it's fine. We're road trip. We got this.
All right, man. So let's jump into this new stuff. We're a little late to the party on this, but I thought we should touch on it because we're such DC fans. The CW shows, they went on a massacre. So of note, as far as DC shows go, Legends of Tomorrow was canceled. That hurts. That one hurts. I'm not even caught up entirely on that show, but it's a major bummer. And I heard that this last season leaves it on a cliffhanger. So
yes,
that's even worse. Yeah.
It leaves it on
You're talking about Booster Gold, right?
Yep. Booster Gold is the cliffhanger played by Donald Faison from Scrubs fame or Clueless fame, if you're that type of person. It got really wonky near the end, but these last 2 seasons were really good. I love the fact that Legends of Tomorrow could add new characters without you going, that's not how it's supposed to go. And they could branch out on characters or have cameos of characters like Jonah Hex and stuff like that. And it just fit. It just worked.
It essentially was kind of a version of like a live action version of Justice League Unlimited without the heavy hitters. It was perfectly placed to where if you did an episode about these guys, it was totally fine and you could move on with your day. I'm sad to see him go. Kitty Watts, following on Instagram, I've been a big fan of her since she first appeared on season 2 of Arrow. So she's been playing that character for quite a long time now. So kind of sucks for her. I'm sure. I mean, she's still going to be a working actress, so I'm not really concerned with her finances. She just got engaged, so good for her.
Oh.
Next up, Batwoman. I'm not entirely surprised he got canceled, but I personally watched all 3 seasons, and this last season had some like highlights. Honestly, it was a lot of like new generations of the Gotham Rogues. So they did like a new version of they did Mad Hatter. They did a new version of Poison Ivy, a new version of Killer Croc. That's kind of just some teasers for it, and that show is canceled. So bummer. Naomi was canceled after 1 season. That's another DC one. I never got around to watching it. I'm not surprised because it was canceled. It's like most people didn't really know about it. And it was like superhero adjacent. Like she knew she was a Superman fan and she had powers. And it was kind of like one of those things where
They tried to do
Something
Miss Marvel before Miss Marvel.
Yeah, I think I've had that exact thing in my mind, that like it kind of feels like they just tried to do Miss Marvel but with Superman instead of Captain Marvel, and it just didn't work out for them. So, RIP to those guys. There's a couple other shows on the CW that got canceled that aren't really relevant to us, like Riverdale, but like who cares? Shows that were renewed though.
Actually, pulled the plug.
Yep, Riverdale.
Riverdale?
Yep.
Well, I mean, it's comic. It's comic adjacent, so
yeah, that's true. It's based on the Archie comics. That's fair. I guess I could have been more respectful in that matter.
Yeah, I actually enjoyed the dramatic trash that is Riverdale.
Me and my wife really enjoyed the first 2 seasons, but it just got too weird. We stopped watching when they started doing that D&D season, whenever that was. It was kind of fun that it was D&D, but it was so weird. It got like mystical, and I was like, that doesn't seem like the type of thing this show should be delving into. And, had this sad case of the wokeness a little bit too, which is kind of like, sometimes it gets that way, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But some new CW shows were announced. Some ones not related. There's a Supernatural prequel coming. There's a prequel to Jared Padalecki's Walker, which is, great stuff. Nothing to do with comic books, but the show that did get the green light, and I'm surprised it got a green light, and I want to hear your opinion on it. Gotham Knights. Did you get a chance to read the synopsis of what the first season is going to be about?
I didn't get to read the full synopsis, but I did hear that was greenlit, and I thought that was
that is the poster
strange
on our screen right now. I will be uploading the video to this episode on Spotify and on YouTube as well. So they got some really interesting like C and D tier Gotham characters, which I really appreciate because when they showed up in the comics, I liked them. The
Bluebird's in it, right?
Yep. Harper Row Bluebird. She's in the back right there. And then her brother Cullen, who
is a trans boy now.
Yes, he's a trans boy. He was gay in the comic books. He's trans in this show. And then the new boy up front, his name is Turner Hayes. And I don't like it because he is a new adopted Wayne son. Bruce Wayne adopted this boy. And in this is not a spoiler. It's literally in the plot thing. Bruce Wayne is dead in this universe. And Harper Turner is being framed for the murder of Bruce Wayne. So that's kind of what the show's going off of. Some adversaries are going to include Dula Dent, also known as the Joker's daughter. She's kind of a not well-known villain, but she's going to be interesting. She's pictured up here in the front. And then a couple surprise entries that I was not expecting. Stephanie Brown is going to be in the show. And even more surprising still, Carrie Kelly is also going to have an appearance, which she is pretty far into the future. So they kind of took all of the D-list Batman sidekicks, with the exception of Signal. There's no sign of Signal showing up yet, but outside of him,
they'll probably have him season 2.
Yeah, they'll if
that's when they like to give us our Black Heroes season 2.
Yeah. Some cool things though. Misha Collins, who's known for playing Castiel in Supernatural, is cast as Two-Face.
Ooh.
So he's going to be playing Harvey Dent. That's kind of the whole idea. I gave you a little bit of a rundown. Noah, why don't you let me know what you're excited about and all that good stuff?
So from what you said, I'm excited because I'm excited the introduction of Bluebird into live action. Yep. I always thought that their story is amazing, and I like the fact that they end superheroing. Slight spoilers for comic book readers, but she stops being a superhero so she can go to college. Yep. And I thought that was really, really cool that like there was finally a Bat family member who was able to get out of the game. And she'll probably return, but it's so nice to have that little moment.
They tried to do a version of that with Tim Drake going to an academy at one point in the comics, and then he ended up getting called back to Gotham. So yeah, it is pretty cool. Interesting thing about Bluebird, I know you don't currently read the Joker series, right? Over at DC. That there's a second series that runs with it. It's an extra $2 or something on the Joker, more than like the regular cover price, and it's Punchline. And what's cool about Punchline is she has a whole second story. So essentially, Joker's comic book ends, who Commissioner Gordon's the main character, and then there's a second like 6 to 8 page thing, and it's Punchline as the character, and the main protagonist is Harper Row Bluebird.
Hmm.
So it's kind of cool, and it's a good comic book. I would recommend it to readers out there. I mean, obviously, you and I are pretty deep cut into the comic books, so this is going to be it's a fun one. And Punchline is a very interesting character. I'm so glad she was introduced 2020. She showed up on the scene.
I have been enjoying stuff and hearing about her, so I'm glad she's different from Harley in a lot of different ways. So that's really nice.
Yep. That kind of wraps things up on the CW, unless you had some other things that you wanted to say.
No, I just find it weird, that they just didn't use Damian, but Titans is still running, and I think that's why they're using all of these D-list characters, D and C-list characters, because either they want to use them on Titans, or they're thinking of a way to connect them.
I think Titan's success has a lot to do with it, and no hate here. I think that's fine. But here we are. It's going to be fun. Now, next up on the list, I had Sandman, the new Netflix show. They released some stills. I wanted to talk about it a little bit. We haven't talked about it much on this podcast. This actor's name is Tom Sturridge. I don't know him. He looks pretty close to how Morpheus looks in the comic books, though. So that's some exciting stuff. Noah, what's your knowledge on the Sandman universe? You know a bunch about it, or no?
I wouldn't say a bunch. I read like the first one like a long time ago, and I've been wanting to, now that they have the audiobook version.
I was going to touch on that if you hadn't heard it yet. There's 2 parts. It's on Audible only. Please go listen to that. It is just pay the money, man. It's so totally worth it. Neil Gaiman's my favorite author of all time. I read both his comic books. I listen to his audiobooks. I have some of his actual books. He's just an all-around super creative author, and he showruns some of the best shows. And he's very deeply tied with this one, so that's going to be great. I'm excited to see that. So there's one still of him. Here's another one with him and his pet crow. One thing I wanted to note, I hope that Patton Oswalt plays the voice of the crow, because he does in the Audible book, and it's hilarious.
Knowing him, they could get him to return. That's one man who will always be working. Is Patton Oswalt. His voice is so iconic. I think he is our generation's Gilbert Godfrey in terms of like voice recognition.
Yeah, that's such a good comp. I never would have thought of that. That's wonderfully done. Rest in peace, Gilbert Godfrey. That's
of course
a major bummer. But yes, Patton Oswalt's great. Finally, this was the last still. This got some controversy because Gwendola Christie of Game of Thrones fame, she plays Brienne Tarth in that show. They're doing a woman Lucifer. In the book and the audiobooks, Lucifer is portrayed as male. But she's a solid actress. So what do you think about this?
I don't mind. Coming from a theater person, and before the pandemic, I was going to be in a show called Paradise Lost, where Lucifer is played by a woman, and it adds a whole separate like feel to it. So we always get the male Lucifer, but I very much am intrigued when Lucifer or the devil is played by a woman, like Bedazzled, Brendan Fraser. I love that movie. Paradise Lost is a phenomenal play. So like, I'm intrigued, and I really hope that they don't just have a female play Lucifer. Like, I want the femininity of what Lucifer sometimes represents to really pour
that I don't recall if you're much of a Game of Thrones guy. I think we've talked about this before, but her specifically, she brings this crazy female energy to a very, very strong character. It's really cool how they handled it. She was compared to, I believe, what is in the Silver Trooper in the Star Wars franchise,
Phantasmo or Phantomo or
whatever it is. It's not whatever it is.
Right in the spoiler will kill us because we don't know.
No. Sorry, Star Wars Stuff podcasts. We'll get you next time. But yeah, I'm definitely excited for the Sandman universe because it's just some of the coolest things in comic books and those audiobooks. Just so good. James McAvoy plays the voice of Morpheus in those, and then Taron Egerton plays John Constantine, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, I like that.
It's a really good cast. You should definitely check it out. It's an Audible original. Now, next up, I got a picture of the Superboy issue 1. They won the round robin tournament. How do you feel about that, Noah?
I mean, good on them. In all reality, good on them. I got to read because like near the tail end they gave us like the first like 8 pages or something of like the comics that were coming up. And I read that one, and I read the Justice League, the Suicide Squad Dark, and I enjoyed Superboy more just even in the first couple of pages to the point where I was like, nah, it's gonna win. So I mean, yeah, none of mine. This is definitely was lower tier on which ones I wanted to win, but
Yeah,
after
I'm with you
reading
there.
it's gonna be intriguing. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot to say. I'm bummed that my Green Lantern story is not coming to light, but that's okay. This Superboy of the '80s fame, he's a really fun character, so I'll be excited. Are you going to buy this one, Noah? Or are you going to wait till it comes out on a graphic novel? Because I've been debating back and forth.
Oh, I'm hoping it just comes out on DC Universe and I can just read it at that. I don't think outside of my new 52 collection of Superboys, I will ever just outright buy one again. Nothing against Connor, nothing against Jonathan, nothing against any Superboy, past or present. It's just they're not my bag.
Yep,
I only collect.
you and I are 100% on the same page. Same thing with Superman. Like it's just it's not for me, and that's okay because not all comic books are directed towards me. I like my goth sad boys, so that's where I'm at. I'm gonna hang out in Gotham a little bit. Speaking of Gotham, there is a new series that is it's going to be a series of one shots that DC announced called Batman One Bad Day, and they're doing
Yeah.
an issue with every one of his major rogues, which is going to be really freaking cool, I think. I've got all of the images that they've released. The only two that don't have covers yet were Catwoman and Ra's al Ghul. They have not released the covers of those comics yet, but they are also coming eventually. I would say I'm definitely excited for this series because one, it's not related to the universe as a whole. I love stuff where it's like an offshoot, so anything could happen to any of the characters, and I don't need to worry about continuity. Are you of the same opinion?
I am, and I just as much as I don't love the hype of the Joker. I always am intrigued by the whole one bad day premise. It only takes one bad day for a person to snap. And with Batman villains especially, that's what it always feels like. It's always like everything like, their life slowly starts to take this decline and then something happens on this one day that just nope, putting on a spandex suit and killing people now. That's how life is.
This whole thing kind of it comes from the Killing Joke storyline from Alan Moore forever ago in the 80s, one of the most iconic Batman stories of all time that takes that premise and puts Commissioner Gordon through the ringer to test him and see if he's actually a good person. So if they're going to be doing anything even similar to that for this series with each of their villains, I'm going to love it because it sounds like it's going to bring Batman to the brink and we're going to have to watch him make his way back out. So what I've got on the screen right now is the Two-Face one. Following, there's the Riddler.
Cool.
That one looks pretty sick. Got a little bit of a blood stain there. Again, I'm doing this video on Spotify, so if you guys want to see the pictures, either Google it or just watch the video. Following the Riddler, I've got Penguin. Not sure how I feel about the artwork on the Penguin one, but Penguin's a good villain, so what can you do? Next up, Mr. Freeze. I'm intrigued to know which Robin that is. And Noah's got just an army of dogs in the background, so I'm going to mute him for the moment. But Mr. Freeze, I'm curious which Robin that's going to be because it's not clear. It kind of looks like it's Dick with the pixie boots and the low cut shorts. So I guess we're going to see if maybe this is like an old story from when Robin first started. I'm intrigued to see what's going on there. Following that one, we've got Bane. This one's in black and white. I wonder if they're going to add color. It kind of could go either way. I don't think it needs it, but it might give us a little bit more of a hint. But it looks pretty good. It's got the reflection of Batman in his mask. Bane's looking super jacked and very much alive, which, again, spoiler, if you aren't reading the Joker books, he officially is back alive, which I think stemmed from the Task Force Z book that I started reading with Jason Todd. I never actually, I only read the first 3 issues and I actually pulled it off my pull list because I just was not enjoying it very much. But Bane was a zombie character in that. And I'm thinking he somehow got his way all the way back to life. So I'd be intrigued to see how they're doing that. But again, this isn't in storyline, so I guess it's not.
I was going to say, they're probably not going to explain that. Yeah, I think I very much enjoyed so far of the panels that you've shown. The Riddler one, but I'm just the podcast that I know you're listening to as well, Unburied.
Oh yeah, we got to talk about that once we're done with this. Let's talk about that.
Yeah,
there's one more.
Menage is killing it. Okay, I've never really liked this art style, but I like Clayface, and I'm very intrigued on what they. Again, all these people, I'm very intrigued on what the One Bad Day is.
I know, me too, and I'm glad they took completely different creative teams, like different writers, inkers, and colorists, and put them all on separate teams to do like the one shots, which is going to be really cool. Yeah, we might as well talk about Batman Unburied. It dethroned the Joe Rogan Experience as the top Spotify podcast, so that's kind of exciting. Nothing against Joe Rogan, but like that's a titan, so it's impressive that he was surpassed by a Batman podcast. Oh, what's Noah got there? Looks like you got your Shuriken R Robin.
Yeah, my Robin, my COD, yeah, my fun little now it's fun fidget spinner for me to move around in my fingers. I truly believe that the cast for Unburied have become top notch. I didn't know how I felt about Winston Duke to begin with until the last couple ones where he finally embraced, because he was Bruce Wayne. He didn't know he was Batman, or he was drugged, or he was in a delusion, or whatever we want to call that. The last episode where he started to get grit in his voice, when he started to beep, I was like, there it is.
When he first introduced the Batman voice, I was not a big fan, but as it progressed, like you said, he puts a little bit of bass, a little bit of treble, whatever he puts into it. It's like, okay, so now you're up to the intimidating thing. So, I mean, good for him. Winston Duke, great casting. Hassan Minaj, as you touched, as the Riddler. He's a funny comedian, so glad to see he's doing other things. And if you guys haven't checked out that podcast, go listen to that podcast because it's totally worth it.
We are not sponsored by that podcast. They're sponsored by Flamin' Hot Cheetos. Every 20 seconds, you got to hear it.
Oh, yeah. If you don't want it, if you're allergic to Flamin' Hot Cheetos, trigger warning.
No, also, Gina Rodriguez, who is voicing Barbara Gordon. I very much have been enjoying her take on Barbara.
Yeah, She's Gina Rodriguez, headstrong. Is she Jane the Virgin?
Yes.
Jane the Virgin. What did I say? Jean? Whatever. Jane.
Yeah, Jane the Virgin, also Superstore.
Okay, yeah, she's around, and yeah, she does a good job too. I like what they we're not going to spoil too much because you guys should just go listen to the podcast, but they definitely take liberties with some storylines, like their origins, and I'm a big fan of it, so it's really cool. I love how they had the first 2 episodes not be in the true timeline of it all. It's really cool. That kind of wraps it up on that. Our last bit of news that you and I both have been wanting to touch on since it was released, they have finally cast Constantine for the HBO Max series that is pretty much guaranteed to be leading up to the Justice League Dark show later on. And he's a black man, and he is.
Let's go. Yeah, let's go. We got a black doctor, which I don't care about Doctor Who, but good for him. We got a black Constantine. British black men are just out here ruling.
God, it's just like they could take anyone's wife. That's the real thing. It's just, if you're that handsome and you have a British accent, you can just have anyone you want. It's kind of a real bummer. But yeah, guy's handsome. I don't know how to say his name, but it's Sophie Derisu. Sopedirisu, and there's a bunch of accents on it as well. But aside from not being able to say your name, I think he's going to do a good job. He's Gangs of London, I believe, some show that they have over there, and that's kind of how he got the job. So good on him. Noah, did you want to go on a little tangent there?
I'm really excited about it. I love this fact of Constantine finally. I mean, I've been wanting to cosplay as Constantine for a very long time, and it's always been just this whole barrier for me in terms of like I know no one would get it, no one, they would think that I
Weirder still, they would call you Black Constantine, which is just like, it's not really what you're going for. You're just trying to be
I'm just gonna be
Constantine.
Constantine. And I have a cosplay friend, the Royal this who cosplayed as Loki all the time, and he got so mad. Like he gets so mad where now people are like, "Oh, you're the variant of Loki." Like, no, I'm just Loki.
Just Loki. Yeah. It's one of those dumb things, and both cosplaying and just, it's what can you do? Hopefully it gets better. Guys, just you don't need to add the black thing. You could just say they're the character, unless they're an actual character like Black Adam, then it would be necessary for you to say black. But outside of that,
And
just
it's
leave it
funny
alone.
because there's so many. I like how you picked one of the few people who's not like. I guess he's African because he's Egyptian. But I was like, yeah, it'd be like going up to Black Bolt and be like, "Oh, you're a black guy." It's like, nah, that's just some weird.
That
Dude
would have
who
been
can't
better.
talk.
Or Black Lightning, yeah. I guess I could have said Black Lightning. Whatever. You get the sentiment.
Yes.
I'm excited for this Constantine show. HBO Max is out here killing it all the time. I can't believe that we're living in a generation where you get to see shows like Peacemaker and enjoy it so much. And I don't care if Noah doesn't talk to me for 6 months prior. I'm calling that boy up to be doing Black Constantine on
Let's
HBO Max.
go. I will be there front
I
center.
hope, I hope they don't name it Black Constantine, because then it makes my point moot.
What's his name? Black Jonathan Constantine. His first name is Black.
Fuck. Bummer. All right. Well, yeah, it's gonna be sweet. It's gonna lead to a greater universe. I'm a little bummed that they're doing the Netflix series separate, the Sandman universe, because that's kind of where John Constantine has a lot of overlap, and they're going the Joanna Constantine route, which is a distant relative of John Constantine. They cast a white woman in that role, so I don't. And plus, I don't think Netflix and HBO Max are going to play nice together as far as sharing their characters. So I don't foresee a crossover between the two. But if we get Constantine going into Justice League Dark and the Sandman universe can go really any sort of direction, like the Land of the Dreams, you could go a whole story based in hell. Like I'm pretty deep cut stuff on that. So whatever they choose to do, I'm going to be a big fan. They're supporting the whole time, and it's going to be great.
Do you think that we will get the Lucifer from the TV show to be the Lucifer in the HBO Max show?
That is hard, maybe, because there was the crossover episode on the CW where Matt Ryan's John Constantine did meet him. But if Marvel's allowed to do variants, I guess DC could do whatever they really want to. I mean,
they've had so many
people love that guy as Lucifer. I mean, if they got the guy that played Lucifer on Supernatural, even, I mean, somebody that's already played Lucifer would be cool. But I'm sure anyone could play the devil pretty well. So whatever they choose to do, that show is going to be awesome. I'm excited for all this stuff. Most of the stuff was DC related, but we hit on a couple things that are like DC adjacent.
Oh yeah, the Crow. Real quick, the Crow.
Yes,
they announced.
Crow?
Yes, they announced the Crow, starring one of the Skarsgårds, and I am a little hurt because I saw the artwork and the amount of time that Jason Momoa put into wanting to do the Crow, and they just waited long enough to where now people have forgotten about it, and I think, and that's kind of shitty. Like nothing against Bill Skarsgård, but that I wanted Momoa.
The bummer, it's like Jason Momoa, he went from being like the strong Dothraki that people wanted to be cast as everything, and then like he got fan cast as literally everything. So he like it's bound to let you down. Like he was fan cast as Lobo, he was fan cast as
we got him as Aquaman.
We got him as the Crow. He's just a super handsome guy. We get it. We know he's very manly. No hate to that guy, because honestly, he's one of my favorite actors working right now. But that about wraps it up. Noah, did you have anything else you wanted to say to the lovely people?
It's nice for you to finally see my face.
Yes. You guys definitely watch it. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts or Pocket Casts or something, you can go check us out on YouTube instead. But on Spotify, they do let us post the video. Shout out to Anchor. sponsor this podcast like you do over at the Marvel stuff, so me and Noah can start putting some pennies together. It'll be great. But once again, thank you guys for listening. Sorry we were gone for 2 weeks, but hey, we're kicking it into gear. Now, first week of next month, we're going to be doing a co-release with the Star Wars Stuff podcast on an Obi-Wan Kenobi comic book. So that's going to be really cool. And following that, we're going to be doing lots of boys stuff for season 3.
Yeah.
So thank you for listening, and you have a good one.